afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the symposium, Womencan Change the World. I'm Minister Director for Mexico, Central America, and Caribbean Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, working as MC of the symposium. This symposium is co-organized by Showa Women's University, Embassy of Jamaica, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan. We are all very pleased to realize this rare opportunity to gather eminent panels of influential positions and decision makers in different areas to share their experiences and thoughts under this theme. As you can see in the program, this symposium is organized in commemoration of the 50th anniversary of Japan-Jamaica diplomatic relations, and also as a follow-up of the WorldAssembly for Women, WOW, held in this September this year in Tokyo. With that, I first would like to invite His Excellency Ambassador Ricardo Alicock, Ambassador of Jamaica in Japan, for the opening remarks. Ambassador Alicock has been a very active ambassador from the day one when he arrived to assume the post in September 2017, and the idea of holding this event was first brought by His Excellency. Ambassador Alicock, please take the floor.
Madam Master of Ceremonies, Ms. Maki Kobayashi, Director with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan, the Honorable Sharon Fox Abrams, Minister of State in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce of Jamaica, Dr. Kuniko Inoguchi, Member of the House of Councillors, Ms. Mariko Bando, President of Showa Women's University, Ms. Aiko Yue, Professor of Hosei University, Ambassador Yasushi Takashi, Director General of Latin America and the Caribbean Affairs Bureau with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan, distinguished guests, students, members of the diaspora, ladies and gentlemen, konnichiwa. It's my delight and my honor to participate with you today in this symposium which commemorates both the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Japan and Jamaica, as well as the auspicious occasion of the Japan-CARICOM Friendship Year, under the title, Women Can Change the World. It's my belief that women have already dramatically changed the world, but still possess the power to do increasingly more. And I think more than anything, this symposium is about reassuring, particularly the young women of Japan, that you have the power to make change in this country and across this globe. Just to recap, as we look again at this year in which we celebrated the two special relationships of Japan-Jamaica and Japan-CARICOM, the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations kicked off last year in November with the official visit of the Most Honorable Portia Simpson Miller, Prime Minister of Jamaica. She was in Japan for 5 days, and that visit helped tremendously with cementing and expanding the already generous and warm relationship that exists between our two countries. Then in June of this year, June 2014, we enjoyed the 10th Jamaica One Love Festival, which was hosted in Yoyogi Park and received some 40,000 visitors. And we were very happy to share this special anniversary with so many Japanese. Then in September of this year, the embassy held Jamaica Cuisine Week at the Hotel Okura, where we had an opportunity historically for the first time to share Jamaican cuisine at such a high level with the residents of Tokyo and beyond. And from all accounts, it appears to have been a successful event, which we hope to put in place annually. So for those of you who missed it in the past, we're hoping that next year and beyond, you'll be able to participate with us. Regarding the CARICOM-Japan relationship, a number of special events have been held in Tokyo. I look back and beyond. I look back to July, which I think really was the kickoff point for Japan on a global scale, because Prime Minister Abe paid his official visit in that month to the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, one of our sister CARICOM nations. And during the course of that visit, he also co-hosted with the Prime Minister of Trinidad the Japan CARICOM Prime Ministerial Summit in acknowledgement of Japan CARICOM Friendship Year. And then in October, we were fortunate by invitation from the Japan Poet Society to have a visit to Tokyo of Professor Edward Baugh, Poet Laureate of the University of the West Indies, which is the largest university in the Caribbean, and probably the most significant Caribbean institution after CARICOM itself. In November, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan, Kishida, hosted CARICOM foreign ministers here at a Japan CARICOM Ministerial Summit. And that we found was to the great benefit, mutual benefit of CARICOM and Japan. We thank our host again for so warmly accommodating the ministers who attended and representatives of CARICOM otherwise, and for the additional steps we were able to make in terms of progress in the friendship between CARICOM and Japan. CARICOM, which is short for Caribbean Community, is a community of 15 nations across the Caribbean, independent nations. This was formed in 1973. The first of those 15 nations to claim independence was Haiti in the early 1800s, and second was Jamaica in 1962, followed in rapid succession by the others. We have long been at this business. Women have also long assumed positions of leadership across CARICOM, beginning with the island state of Dominica, which elected the first woman prime minister in the Caribbean in 1980, and she served for 15 years in that capacity. At the moment, we enjoy the leadership of women at the level of prime minister, both in Trinidad and Tobago and in Jamaica. Prime Minister Simpson Miller, who I mentioned earlier, is Jamaica's 11th prime minister, and she was also our 8th, so this is her second time round as prime minister for Jamaica. But our history of the involvement of women across CARICOM, and more specifically in Jamaica, goes back centuries. And perhaps the best place for me to, the best starting point I could use is in acknowledging one of our 7 national heroes, the only woman to be a national hero of Jamaica, who simply goes by the name of Nanny. She and a group of runaway slaves back in the 18th century, 17th and 18th centuries, fought the British, which had occupied the island of Jamaica for nearly 90 years. And the British finally accepted that they would not be able to defeat this group of runaway slaves called the Maroons, and their leader, their chieftain and field general, Nanny, negotiated with the British in 1741 for land to be carved out on which the Maroons would live in freedom, even while slavery still existed in Jamaica. So the Maroons actually took their freedom through Nanny in 1741, 97 years before slavery was abolished in Jamaica. A tremendous achievement. And Nanny's boldness and courage and vision and tactical brain really are just one representation of many that we have of women who significantly impacted our country and our region. I think of modern day Jamaica, where we have very high participation of women at all levels of society. And more specifically, as I look at my first secretary from the embassy, she knows where I'm going with this. I think of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Jamaica, where the staff complement is nearly 80% women. And where, as I think of the number of ambassadors that we have abroad, more than 65% of our ambassadors are female. And this is standard across our society. We buy wholeheartedly into the empowerment of women, the support of women, and the encouragement of women. More recently, in 2013, the World Economic Forum produced a report on gender equality. And in its overall rating, Jamaica was ranked 47th, and Japan was ranked 105th. But in a segment of that report, there is a focus on women working in the public sector and working in management, and just a measurement of their work generally, of their participation generally in the workplace. And in that report, while Japan again ranks 105th, Jamaica ranks first. Now, Jamaica and Japan have a really wonderful relationship, as I mentioned, going back 50 years, and it continues in all this wonder and dynamism. But so much of that relationship is about Jamaica enjoying Japan's generosity. We have been able to impact your country in some ways, but I would say the majority of the impact lies in the delivery of assistance that Japan brings to Jamaica. But we thought that this was one way in which perhaps there's something more that we could share with Japan when looking at these reports and seeing that Jamaica had more of an advantage than Japan did. And that really is what this symposium is about today. It's about the interest of Jamaica in building on the friendship that we have with the Japanese. It's about us taking an interest in your own development of your country. It's about us buying into and committing to helping you to achieve your very best. And if we can do that in some small way, by encouraging the young women of Japan and by sharing our own experience and perhaps inspiring you in some way to draw more closely in terms of these measurements through reports like the one I've just mentioned, to the rankings that Jamaica enjoys and experiences, we would consider ourselves to have done a tremendous work and service to you. So, on behalf of Jamaica, on behalf of the Minister of State, the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce of Jamaica, I'd just like to thank you for opening your doors here at Showa Women's University, opening your minds and your hearts here in this audience to hear what we have to share with you and to listen generally to the dialogue that will come to you from women, Jamaican and Japanese, who have experienced success, some trials, but have seen what it looks like from the mountaintop in terms of leadership, and I hope that all of you are able to glean something that is useful, beneficial, and worthwhile to you as you do today. I thank you for your patience and tolerance, and I look forward, like you, to what the panelists have to offer. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for the very eloquent opening remarks. Now we move to the session for the keynote speeches by eminent panelists, actively engaging to change the world for the better direction. I should first like to ask the Honorable Sharon Progress Abraham, State Minister for Industry, Investment and Commerce of Jamaica. Minister is attorney at law, lecturer and long-standing newspaper columnist, and Member of Parliament for West Central St. James of Jamaica. Minister long worked as a recognized lawyer for immigration, human rights, and criminal law in Canada, and worked as counsel for the Ontario Human Rights Commission before going back to Jamaica and won the election to become a member of the Parliament and then the minister. Minister Progress Abraham, please take the floor.
Thank you very much for having me here this afternoon. Just want to acknowledge the MC, Ms. Maki Kobayashi. I would like to acknowledge the president of the Showa Women's University, Ms. Mariko Bando. I'd like to acknowledge Akiko Yuje, professor at Kosei University, Ms. Kaniko Inoguchi, PhD member of the House of Councillors, my own ambassador, Ricardo Alcock, and to all of you here. I'm just so happy to be in Japan. I would like to thank the Japanese government and the Japanese people for inviting me here, and also for the long friendship that we have had with Japan. 50 years of friendship. I think that deserves a round of applause. Thank you so much. I just want to show you just a little bit about Jamaica before I start to speak. And I'm sure a lot of you know Usain Bolt. You know Usain Bolt, and you probably know Bob Marley as well. But we also have the fastest woman runner. Her name is Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price. So we have the fastest man, and we have the fastest woman as well. So I just want you to look a little bit at Jamaica. Can you turn the volume? Pictures are still good. We want to show you a little bit of what Jamaica looks like and where Jamaica is in the globe. We're in between North and South America. Just wanting to see where we are. Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, let me say that it is indeed a great honor to be in Japan and to attend this very important symposium. I must tell you that I feel quite at home here in Japan. Number one, you're driving on the left side of the road, which is like Jamaica. And not a lot of countries that I've been to drive on the left side of the road. This is a very beautiful country, and I'm enjoying your weather. Of course, Jamaica is a lot warmer, but of course, this is beautiful weather indeed in your fall. Japan is indeed a lovely country. Today we have Japanese nationals residing in Jamaica and vice versa. We also trade with Japan in areas such as coffee beans, alcoholic drinks, tobacco, automobiles, and machinery. We share a common bond also where culture is concerned, particularly in terms of our reggae music. So a lot of you probably have listened to reggae music. Ladies and gentlemen, I particularly welcome the focus of this symposium on women and how we can change the world. Women, in fact, have already changed the world, but we can do a lot more going forward to participate in and also change the world. Just a bit about myself. I am a member of Parliament for Montego Bay, Jamaica. I am a minister in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, and I'm one of 5 women in Parliament out of 63. So you understand that we also have the same imbalance that you have. I understand that about 3% of your parliamentarians or persons in government are women. And how many of you would like to participate in government at a higher level? Let me see the hands of anybody who would like to be a part of government. Nobody? Okay, well maybe I can encourage you, because I think it's very important that women participate fully in the lives and development of our country. We have an important role to play, because without women, the world could not go around. Without women, there'd be a great imbalance in the world. And we bring balance to decision making and to making the world a better place. And I have facts and figures to prove that to you. You might not realize how important you are as a person. First of all, you are created equally with men. Men are not better, women are not better, we're equal. But we have different perspectives, and we have different things and roles and thoughts that we can bring to society and that we have to contribute. Everybody has a purpose in life, and everyone has a dream. And when I was young, I dreamt to be a lawyer. I kept talking everywhere I went. In class, I was always talking, and the teachers would tell me, shut up. But not knowing that that was the gift that I had to bring to the world. So I would often represent people in the class and say, you know, this is not right, or this should be done, and I would be told to sit down. Village lawyer, that's what they used to call me. But then I became a real lawyer because I had a dream, even when I was 12 years old, that I would be an attorney at law. I became an attorney at law in Jamaica, and then I moved to Canada, and I became a lawyer in Canada for many, many years, 25 years. I represented persons who were underprivileged, underrepresented. I represented refugees before courts and panels, and I also became the diaspora leader for Jamaica in Canada. While I was at university as well, I was also voted in as the president of the Students' Union. And of course, I would also voice my concerns and the concerns of those around me. And so, even while I was in Canada, I became the counsel to the Ontario Human Rights Commission. And there I litigated many cases on behalf of many persons from all over the world. And I must say that I had a successful career. And then I felt the call to go back to Jamaica, because I felt that Jamaica needed me. I felt that I would like to contribute in my life to the success of others, and in particular to the success of women. And so I went back to Jamaica, and I ran in politics. I only went back for 1 year and a few months. And everybody said, you didn't know anybody, you've left here for so long, how are you going to win? But I knew in my heart, and I had the faith to know that I would win. And I did win. And here I am today in Japan talking to you. So there is a progression there where I had the confidence, I had the dream, I had the experience, and I had the knowledge. But more than all, I had the faith to know that I would be what God wanted me to be. And so therefore, I believe everybody, every woman in here has a purpose in life. You're created for a particular thing. It's bigger than your job. It's bigger than what you're doing now. But you have a dream, and there's a dream that you can fulfill. But you must prepare yourself to fulfill that dream. You must prepare yourself through your studies and through your activities to learn more about what you can do as a person. And so I would just say that there's so much that you can do to fulfill that dream. Women are very important. Women are the largest economic opportunity. The most convincing business case for women comes from Silverstein and Sayre in 2009, a study who show that women are a bigger economic opportunity than India and China combined. In 2009, women globally earned $13 trillion, which is double the combined GDPs of China and India, which is 5.6 trillion. This female income is projected to be 18 trillion in 2014. Women control majority of consumer spending. In your household, your mother decides how the money is going to be spent, whether on the children, on your education, on health, on the groceries, on the housing. Women control 70% of spending across the globe. Women create their own wealth. Many women are now entrepreneurs, going into business on their own. Women improve corporate performance, and I want you to listen to this very carefully. Women are shown to have positive effects that improve corporate performance. Catalyst 2007 compared Fortune 500 companies on the representation of women on all their boards and their corporate performance. They found that when comparing the worst and the best quartile of female representation, this had significant effects on the corporate performance. Return on equity increased by 53%. Profit margin increased by 42%. And return on invested capital by 66%. They also found that a minimum of 3 women on board gave the best results. So when you have women on your board and when you have women in a corporation, you have improved profits and improved results in your business. McKinsey, which is another study in 2007, confirms this relationship. They find that companies with the highest gender diversity teams as compared to the industry average see a much higher return on equity, 10%, and a higher operating result by 48%, and a stronger stock price growth of 70%. In addition, having at least one woman on the board decreases bankruptcy by a full 20%. Increasingly, companies with more women on their boards see better corporate governance and ethical behavior. Women also strengthen the economy and increase the next generation welfare. Women reinvest a far greater amount of their earnings on their children's education and health than men do. And whereas men spend greater amounts on entertainment, thus helping women earn their own income, has a direct effect on the next generation. Women are also increasingly well educated. In Japan, I believe that 96% of graduates are your rate in secondary schools, which is the second best among nations in 2010. And it seems to me as if there's a lot of scope in Japan for women. Goldman Sachs states that Japan's GDP could increase by 15% by employing more women. Goldman Sachs also states that for Japan, we believe that gender equality is possibly the most powerful action for the government to take to promote long-term sustainable growth. So women, you represent a great opportunity in this country. You represent the next wave of growth and development, and your participation can change Japan. Your participation can change the world. And I dare say that you have a big opportunity in front of you, because Japan has only 3% of women in government. So I think that looking at you today, speaking to you today, you are one of you, the next president of Japan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for the inspiring speech with very encouraging figures. Now I should like to invite the Honorable Kuniko Inoguchi, member of the House of the Councillors of Japan, chairman of the Special Committee on Okinawa and Northern Province, and members of the Japan-Caribbean Friendship Parliamentary League. The Honorable Inoguchi was Professor of Faculty of Law at Sophia University, Minister of State for Gender Equality and Social Affairs, and Ambassador of Japan to the Conference on Disarmament. Thanks, the Honorable Inoguchi.
Thank you very much for the very kind introduction. It is indeed my great honor to be here today and to be able to speak in the presence of Honorable Madame Sharon Abraham, Minister for Industries, Investments and Commerce from Jamaica, who has just made a very inspiring statement. Thank you very much for a very important statement you have made to our female generations to come. Thank you. And also, His Excellency Ambassador Alcock of Jamaica, thank you very much for your statement also. Also, I would like to thank President of Shogo Women's College, Madame Tariko Bando, for her very special leadership to make this excellent symposium to be held here today. This symposium is designed to be very ambitious. It is designed with a very ambitious agenda, a very important agenda. And I would like to congratulate other able organizers for this symposium with very full-sighted agenda. I would like to first of all remember very fondly the very important visit of the Honorable Prime Minister to this country. Thank you very much for this, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank the very special importance of Jamaica in advancing the stable development within the Caribbean region and beyond. Also, I would like to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the diplomatic relationship between countries, and we share a lot of possibilities and agenda, such as employment. We also share a lot of commonalities. We are the island countries with a lot of potentials in the future. Now, also taking note of the common efforts made by women of both countries in making political, economic, and social development of our countries. And in this context, welcoming the important success of the WorldAssembly for Women held in Tokyo just last September, I would like to express my own special commitment to the cause of gender equality, which this symposium stands for. And also, I would like to express my own commitment to promoting women's active roles in political, economic, and social development processes to change the world and to make the world a better place for generations to come. allow me to make a few comments on my own experiences. I served as an academic for many, many years before becoming a parliamentarian. I was a professor of political science and international relations at Sofia University in Tokyo. I taught many students, including very many brilliant female students, and I remember with regret that during the first 10 years of professorship, all female students who attended my advanced seminar on political science and international relations, in the end, had to quit their jobs to raise a family. That was my initial experiences in gender equality and the limits to gender equality. Now, in later years, there were more opportunities for my students to continue their work. But I remember the students I taught when I was in 30s, they all had to quit. And at that time, it was in my very deep determination, it was my own deep determination that I will someday have to stand up for gender equality cause. Although my special training was in political science, I thought I will have to focus more on gender issues as I saw my female students who would have had, if we had made better efforts for them, a brighter future in promoting our social and economic development, political development. So later, I decided to run for parliament when Prime Minister Koizumi asked me to run for the parliament. And I took the chance, although I fully enjoyed and found very deep meaning in my teaching job at the Sofia University, I decided at some point I will have to stand up for generations to come. And I ran in 2005 for the general election and made it to the parliament. And 6 weeks later, Prime Minister Koizumi appointed me to the Ministership of Gender Equality. This was the first full ministership for gender equality that this nation had. So I'm the first gender equality minister in full-fledged mandate of this country. The tenure lasted only for less than a year because Prime Minister Koizumi, after 5 years and a half of his administration, decided to leave the office. But there are many things I could sort of share with you out of my own experiences. First of all, one has to sort of accumulate your capacity so that if there is a chance, you can take it. And always take the chance if the chance comes. Because if you are in line to take the chance, there are 1,000 people who are not in line to take that chance. So it is almost an obligation for you to be prepared to that date with education or whatever the inspirations you had through your years with the community, that you have a special obligation to take the chance and prove that you can do. But in order to be able to do those things, I would suggest that you always have to study very hard at all times so that you'll be able to accumulate special capacity and capability so that you'll be able to take the chance once there is a chance. Now, once you have taken up the chance, you will have to work very hard, probably 3 or 4 times more harder than otherwise to make a difference. You won't be doing the same thing as any other person, but since you're the first woman to take that position, or you are one of the first groups to take that position, you will have to work very hard to make a difference, do something different as a woman. Well, I can give many examples, and I may have the opportunity to speak on those examples in the symposium, but when I was a minister for gender equality, one thing I decided I must do is to mainstream the idea. This was in 2005, no, it's almost a decade ago. At that time, we talk about gender equality, or we have this very special sort of challenge of declining birth rate issues. So we had to expand the child care services and improve the child care services So those issues were major agenda for me. But nationwide, the reaction of the people was, well, those are the things for women and children. Why is that a major issue for the nation? It was indeed not a mainstreamed agenda. So my role was to mainstream this gender equality cause and also services that support gender equality and opportunities for women, both at home and in society. Well, I worked very hard in all kinds of ways, and in the end, the total fertility rate declining trend has been reversed, and it has been reversed to this date. So after 10 years, I could say that in 2005, in the history of Japan, the total fertility rate was lowest. And at the lowest point, the gender equality minister was appointed, and since 2005, the total fertility rate began to rise. And it's not, this was not population policy or anything, it is simply to pursue gender equality, make sure that there is enough services so that if you want to choose to remain in your office, you can do so, and ask for childcare leave as an entitlement, not as an excuse. In the parliament we have passed a law, but it has not been implemented to the full extent. So by mainstreaming the idea of gender equality, a person will be able to insist that it is her entitlement to take year childcare leave, and that has come about. And also, if there is a need for childcare facilities, that is also being provided. We have just raised the consumption tax from 5% to 8% this April. And of course, the economy is not doing as well as it used to be because of this rise. But 1% of the 3% rise in consumption tax is to be used for childcare purposes. So we must take the opportunity to grab the budget, because without the budget, it is not possible to pursue policies. And once you're in office, you have to be very pragmatic about those things. And those are also the opportunities. Once there's a chance, you have to grab the budget, pursue the policies, make a difference, and take solution-oriented attitudes toward issues. There's almost no need to preach anything. If you can make an example, then people will follow you. And I would like to suggest or make a present to you with the new sort of vocabulary. I call it SOS. It's not only save our ship, but SOS stands for solution-oriented synergy. You will not be able to do on your own. It's not solution-oriented action. You need to make a synergy. You have to make an alliance with somebody, with your friends, with your peers, with those men who understand this cause, and it's a synergy, and we can go beyond borders. We can make a synergy with Jamaican minister who is in this room today. And someday we will be able to solve problems together for bigger community. So something like that. And also make a difference. My most recent experience I can share with you. I was talking with the Prime Minister of India who visited this country in September. Prime Minister Modi is a very skillful and powerful politician and leader. And in one of his speeches, he suggested that parliamentarians, but female parliamentarians, should make a kind of a league. We have a parliamentary league for Caribbean countries, actually, and we have a parliamentary league for India. And so there are a few parliamentarians in the room with interest in India. But Prime Minister Modi said, well, what about female parliamentarian league? So I took the word and organized the Women's Parliamentary League for India. And then he suggested through Ambassador in Tokyo that this parliamentary league could look into why many girls drop out of schools in India. And we did some research and we found It's not the sense of gender inequalities that exist in India or any place, but it's simply a lack of, and I would just tell you, toilets for women. And many schools don't have toilets for women. So eventually, in the later stage of elementary school, girls simply decide not to go to school because there's no toilet for girls. So, by analyzing and understanding the cause behind, we assist there's a Director General from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in administering official development assistance for many countries, in which the dropout rates on gender basis have a very special statistics, high rate. We may be able to ask what is the reason for that, and we may be able to provide toilets for girls in all education institutions. Something like that is making a difference. If there were no female parliamentarians in that room at which Prime Minister of India made the speech, we may not have noticed these things or make a difference in the future. So while women would go with the grand ideas, grand themes and gender, but also try to make a difference because you're a woman professional, because you are female chairman of the board or parliamentarian or minister. So those are things I would like to suggest to you, coming from my own experience. Also, at the end, I would like to suggest 4 Ds, all right, diversity, including women's diversity, and that's enhancing democracy. Democracy, diversity, and also digitalization will help women, because women often are in remote areas, but through internet we can have equality to under information, not only equality under law, but also equality under information. And the last D is disarmament. Only with peace, safety, there will be economic development and social development. So since I was a disarmament ambassador to Geneva, the 4th D will stand for disarmament, and this country will stand for nuclear disarmament and disarmament of all kinds of illegal weapons. And next year we will commemorate the 70th anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombing of nuclear weapons. So with that word, I would like to thank everybody for your patience, and I would like to finish and end my speech. Thank you very much.
Despite of the extremely heavy schedule for the election campaign these days, thank you very much for your time to share the long-standing commitment for mainstreaming the gender equality issues. Now I should like to ask Professor Akiko Yuge, Professor of Global Politics at Faculty of Law at Kosu University. Professor has long served for the UNDP, Assistant Resident Representative in Thailand, Deputy Resident Representative in Malaysia, former UNDP Assistant Administrator and Director for the Bureau of Management, former Director of Representative Office in Tokyo and Special Advisor to the Administrator of UNDP. Professor Yuge, please take it forward.
Your Excellency, Honorable Sharon Abrahams, State Minister, Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce of Jamaica. Your Excellency, Honorable Kuniko Inoguchi, Member of the House of Councillors and former Minister of State for Gender Equality and Social Affairs of Japan. Professor Mariko Bando, President of Showa Women's University. Your Excellency, Ambassador Ricardo Alico, Ambassador of Jamaica to Japan, Ambassador Yasushi Katase, Director General for Latin America and Caribbean Affairs of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan, and our MC, Mr. Maki Kobayashi. Ladies and gentlemen, students, good afternoon. I wish to first express my heartfelt congratulations on the 50th anniversary of the diplomatic relations between Japan and Jamaica and the Japan CARICOM Friendship Year. I'm grateful to the organizers for inviting me to this symposium to commemorate these two very special occasions. We already heard 3 very impressive speeches with lots of rich messages. In my remarks, I will talk about the path that I walked in my life and career, and I see that many of the points that I'm going to mention were actually also mentioned by previous speakers. So we have some common issues that we're going to promote, right? In my career, I never felt discriminated because I'm a woman. Perhaps this is because I have spent most of my career in a UN organization, namely the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and I worked there until last year, for about 30 years. UNDP supports developing countries in their efforts for nation building, capacity building, and empowerment of women and men, people, altogether, to improve their living standards. Gender equality and empowerment of women are priority issues that UNDP has been promoting in every country. I started working for UNDP when I was 23 years old, so very close to the age of many of the students here. It was my first full-time job, and I was assigned to the office in Bangkok, Thailand. UNDP has about 140 offices around the world, with 129 of them located in developing countries. When I learned that a career in UNDP meant that staff members moved from one country to another every 3 to 4 years, I got very excited. So, after Thailand, I was assigned to work in UNDP headquarters in New York. Then I also moved later on to Thailand again, and Indonesia, and the Kingdom of Bhutan in the Himalayas. Also back here to work in the Tokyo UNDP office, then to New York headquarters again and back here, so lots of moving. In UNDP, staff members' reassignments start by applying to vacant posts. Every position is of course open to women and men. I always chose the country that I wanted to live and work, and a higher level position than my current one. So point number 1 to keep in mind. Aim high and higher. The new experience in a completely different environment in a new country every 3 years was very exciting and exhilarating. I enjoyed this cycle of moving and gaining experience in a higher position each time I moved. Then, there are other things that I kept in mind in my career. Number 2, work hard and very hard. This is a golden rule. With many smart colleagues around me, and everybody is working very hard, I had to put my whole mind and heart in my work to produce results that I consider the very best that I can do. Anything less was not good enough. In a results-based culture, your outputs and quality matter, not how much time you spend in the office. Number 3, consult people. I believe that 2 or more brains are better than 1 brain. So, rather than trying to solve all problems by myself, I regularly consulted my staff, my colleagues, and other people. When I faced with a complex and difficult issue, I brainstormed with my colleagues and got their opinions and perspectives. I also tested my ideas with them. I can say that I benefited tremendously from them as they made me realize about different ways of seeing the same situation. 4th point is people's network. A related point is to create and maintain a good network of people around you. This is an important asset that I have always treasured. Even with all the information technologies that are available, I still believe that people-to-people relationship remains invaluable. At critical moments, I consulted people that I can trust and received thoughtful advice. As there were no female role models around me, I usually consulted men. Often, the best advice is not written anywhere. Fifth is having a good support system around me. These are all related issues. This is important, especially when things are not going well. For me, this includes good family support, good friends that I can talk to, and good doctors for any health problems. A related sixth point is having a good work-life balance. When I was in my 20s, there was a period when all my time was taken up by work. That was my whole life. When something went wrong with work, I felt devastated, as though my whole life was collapsing. This is because there was nothing else in my life besides work. Having a good work-life balance is very important. You need something else besides work that you enjoy. To relax, to refresh yourself, to revitalize, and to feel happy. This will revitalize you so that you can face your work with positive energy and feel refreshed. My relaxation now is jazz singing. Point 7, sharpen your skills and knowledge. Throughout my career, I felt the need to continuously upgrade myself with new knowledge and skills to meet the evolving requirements. I took every opportunity for training courses on managerial skills, leadership skills, negotiation skills, and other areas. Point 8 is believe that you can do it. Staying healthy, both physically and mentally, is of course important. Having a positive outlook is equally important. Whenever I faced a difficult situation, I told myself, I can do it. I can go through this and come out successfully. It's important to believe in one's ability and believe that you can do it. Once I was determined that I can do it, I felt the extra energy flowing. In addition to the points that I just listed, one principle that I kept is that my husband and I will not live apart. In a job like mine, where staff members move from one country to another every few years, many couples live apart in 2 different countries as both pursue their careers. I have seen so many of these couples end up in divorce, and they were my friends and my colleagues. So, I decided that our marriage means living together. I have therefore moved to countries where both of us can live and work. I have taken special leave from UNDP on 2 occasions. The first time for 4 years, and the second time for 3 years. My husband quit his job from a Japanese newspaper company to become a freelance journalist. We both adjusted our work and life every few years, and we stayed together. Thank you. I shared with you some of my thoughts. With the support of my organization, UNDP, I was able to pursue my aspirations. Having worked in Thailand, Indonesia, Bhutan, I felt that I was able to make a modest contribution to improve the lives of the people there. For instance, in Bhutan, where I served as UNDP resident representative, I worked closely with the government and supported agricultural development, for instance, through the introduction of new vegetables and fruits, new species, and also in such areas as human development, human resources development, and also in small infrastructure, such as building suspension bridges to link remote villages to health clinics, schools, and markets. Because Bhutan is made up of lots of valleys and mountains and valleys and mountains, and it's very difficult to get from one place to another. Yes, women can change the world. Women have the capability and power to change the world. This may start from a small step, perhaps a step that each of you will take today. There's no limit as to how far you can go. With each step, you are closer to your goal. It may take you many steps. Once you determine your aim, stay focused and go for it. You will reach your goal. Thank you very much.
For how to be successful in professional life and how to be successful to have a work and life balance. Now I would like to turn to Professor Mariko Bando, President of Showa Women's University, to address us. President Bando has long served in the Prime Minister's office, then served as Vice Governor of Saipan Prefecture, Consul General of Spain, Australia, and Director General of Gender Equity Bureau of President Office, Director of Asahi Mutual Life Insurance Company. She also chaired the Board of Rural Women Empowerment and Life Improvement Association. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. And it is our privilege to host this outstanding symposium for memorial for the Typhoon Japan, French beer, at the Jamaica, Japan, the fifth anniversary celebrations. And I was also very much impressed. Beautiful speeches, very powerful speeches, all the speakers made before me. And I am the fourth speaker, and I said my speech can be very flexible to adopt the length of the speech. Time is already 3:07. It should be finished before 3 o'clock. And after we will have the discussion. But now I will short my speeches and keep the time for discussion. Please, quickly. We choose the title, Women Can Change the World. Is it exciting topics, especially in Japan today? I believe women can change the world without to be the president or ministers or member of the parliament, you did. But every woman in this room can contribute something small, not without passing I can to say no, I cannot. It is impossible for me. It is not women's job. It is not women's expectation, something like that. But I hope every woman here can do something more for society, for the world, as you mentioned, for the next generations. Anyway, but here in Japan, with the Minister message to revitalize Japanese society and economy, the contribution of the women is necessary, and she committed to make the women shine societies. But now our Japanese women's situation is not so good. As the ambassador mentioned, our stage of the global data, WEF gender gap report said Japan is 150 out of 136 countries. And previous year, it was 101, and then from 1980, we are going down because we are making a little bit advances, but other countries are making more advances. So our order is going down. Next, please. Next, please. On the next. Oh, yeah. So this is the Japanese statistics. Please look at it. Especially for higher education, Japanese women is going better. And we provide with 2-year college and 4-year college. It is almost equivalent to boys. But if we see the graduate schools, still women is half. Why? Of course, there are many reasons, but one of the important reasons is next. The majors. Many of the boys are going to science or engineering, but girls are going to liberal arts or social sciences. The students of the so-called liberal arts or social science will not go into advanced degrees. So it reflects the low participation of graduate schools. And also, so long Japanese women are concentrated to liberal art fields, so we are not well prepared for their world, their economy. Please. Oh, no. I don't know. No? Okay, excuse me. I said this. Okay. I will. So I hope from here, we Japanese women should more widen our field, prepare for the engineering or information technologies, economy, or law or medical sciences. Yes, for such a professional jobs, women's participation is increasing. But for the organizational leadership position to make a decision, still women participate very low rates. It reflects the low status in organizations like president, member of the board, or the member of the parliament, president or professor of the university, very low participation rate for women. Yeah. As the minister from Jamaica mentioned, in United States, in big company like Fortune 500, the more women involved, the more high performance of their businesses. In Japan, just only we have around 10% of managerial position and 1% of the member of the board. And so we can understand why Japanese economy is declining. It's one of the reasons, I'm afraid. Yeah, so now Prime Minister or Japanese government is working hard to promote women in decision-making positions. But not only the systems for legislations, I believe we individual women must prepare to develop our own careers. I always encourage our students to be independent, to think by your own brain and develop, encouraged by yourself. And as Yuge-san said, yes, it is very important to find the supporters to develop our careers. Without the support, we cannot do anything. That is from my own personal histories, I can say. I'm afraid I'm very old one compared to another. But when I graduated university, no government ministers accepted women as a future officials, as a candidate of future officials. I am only the labor ministry recruit women every year. I am so lucky I was when I was hired Prime Minister's office. But I was the first women, and many of my colleagues, male colleagues, watching me. It is something special embedded to their own fields. Just like the panda. They are coming and watching. But anyway, I was lucky enough to survive the government. And I learned a lot on the job training. Not I learned more than in my university or universities. Both to work with other team members and how to behave in organizations, how to support others. We must be nice to others if we want to do something good. That's realistic wisdom is always learned from so-called non-career people. And also, I learned a lot from the excellent persons, not only women, but I met many male role models in my workplaces. So I am lucky enough, I have many mentors, many role models, but not women. So I'm afraid I am a little bit, I am not feminine. Because I am always working with men. But now I am the president of Women's University. I work with women and educate women students. And I always, as I mentioned, we can contribute to society by the husband, by the children, but we ourselves contribute to our societies by our own skills, by our own spirit, mind, knowledge. So there are so many things for women to learn, to study, and prepare for the futures. It is on the way, same as other women in Japan. Our students also working hard for their talent. So I am very much appreciated to have this opportunity to talk, to show the real role models for our students. And I will save the time for the discussions. Thank you very much.
A very encouraging speech. Now I ask all the panelists to come up to the stage for the panel discussions, but I think we need a few seconds to prepare the ground. Invite distinguished panelists to come up to the stage for the panel discussions.
the discussion should be 2 hours and 3 hours. But unfortunately, time is running. So we will discuss only for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, we will open the questionnaire time for the audience. You may have a lot of questions to the speakers. And after, we will make a last comment. So the discussion is only 20 minutes. So if you have something to add it to your keynote speech, please say it the first time. And next, I'd like to ask you, what is the key point to increase or to include the women in decision-making position, especially in Japan? And third, also give some personal advice again. It can be okay if you say twice, same as the keynote speech. Yeah? Okay? Start. Olivia, change the order. Okay.
Thank you very much, President of the University, Maisa Sensei, for your very powerful statement and also your leadership again.